The Monster Hunter series imagines a world ruled by nature, where gigantic soaring creatures exert mastery over the food chain and also me when I'm trying to learn hunting horn. These are masterworks of evolution that possess devastating strength and incredible elemental affinities. While it's easy to fall bewitched before the beautiful beasts that roam the series, magic is a term that strays rather far from the intent it seems to have. The environments we see within Monster Hunter games are often lovingly and painstakingly crafted. If the Commission's purpose is ecological research, the world they live in has to reflect that. To some degree, the many landscapes, plants, and animals should fit together like a puzzle then. To that end, many of the titular monsters have been designed with some level of reason in mind. Their appearances balance function and fashion. You're meant to marvel at how cool the big electric dinos are, while also still being able to reasonably understand the mechanics behind their behavior. While the games themselves don't always go out of their way to spoon-feed you physiology of the beasts, thought has certainly gone into them, and if you look hard enough, you can find it. My goal is to combine my love of the series, and giant monsters in general, with my background in biology to explore the physiology and ecology of such monsters. Not only will we dive into the game and guidebook lore of Monster Hunter's denizens, but we'll also use that data to speculate on additional systems and features the creatures might possess. Seeing as the days are growing shorter and Halloween is on the horizon, there's one monster that's a clear choice to kick things off. Monster Hunter World introduces us to many lush environments, but none so memorable as the Coral Highlands and its dark underbelly, the Rotten Vale. The latter is the home of our focus today. A titanic, winding skeleton gives way to effluvium-drenched caves, where sloping intestinal curves usher us deeper into caverns of glowing acid, and finally, to what could easily be mistaken for the gates of hell. Here we find the corpse coat elder dragon, Vaal Hazak. Vaal Hazak is a new elder dragon introduced in Monster Hunter World, and that alone tells us some major things. First, it's far more powerful than the other normal monsters in the Vale. Some go so far as to assert that elder dragons cannot be considered part of the local food chain or ecosystem. While this communicates their distinction, it unfortunately can't be true. Every living thing has to relate to its environment in some way, even if it's such a powerful predator that it nearly defies logic. Creatures exist in response to their environments. From talon to tail feather, they're adapted to fit into their home biome, not vice versa. Every form and trait a creature possesses is the result of millennia of evolution. Minute, slow changes that happen in response to their environment. Teeth exist to tear and chew, claws to attack, grip, or climb. No living thing exists free from this influence. This principle even applies to the Elder Dragons, and Vaal Hazak does not sit as the king of the Rotten Vale because he is powerful, rather, he is powerful because he sits in the Rotten Vale. Before we can take a peek under the creature's necrotic coat and see what makes him tick, we need to first become acquainted with an intimate knowledge of his home. In Monster Hunter World, the Rotten Vale reaches deep below the Coral Highlands. When life lingers and the airborne animals take their last breath, pastel tones plummet and give way to putrid rot. The abundance of life up top is fueled by an abundance of death down below, creating an infinite and beautiful cycle that the game goes out of its way to highlight. The symbiotic relationship of the land captures the core cycle of life and death, and among the mycelium that bloom atop the fleshy floor in the depths of the Vale, we find life in death personified, Vaal Hazak. Despite having a face and carapace that quite a few would classify as disturbing, Vaal Hazak is one of the most gentle giants we can find. He's no world eater, no killer among killers. His theme declares him the keeper of Hades, an allusion to the Greek underworld named after the king of the dead himself. If Hazak is the keeper, then he's also Hades. The two share a mild temperament, content to keep to their own affairs while they watch over the dead. There's more to this dragon's disposition than mythical illusion, though. Vaal Hazak can afford to be affable for two reasons. First, it's an elder dragon, and other creatures naturally understand to avoid drawing its ire. Second, Vaal Hazak has no reason to instigate violence. It's not a predator, rather, its role within the Rotten Vale is more akin to a decomposer like fungi and worms. This creature does not scavenge the decaying corpses of the Vale like Gyros or Odogaron. It instead finds its fill in the effluvium that naturally congregates in the depths of decay. The effluvium present in Monster Hunter is a gaseous byproduct of decaying organic matter. It is a rich storm of bacteria that grow plump and multiply by breaking down cadavers. Like a whale filter feeding on krill in the ocean, Vaal Hazak gets its nutrients from the clouds of effluvium in the Vale. Its body, though terrifying at first glance, is in truth a finely tuned machine for farming bacteria. Vaal Hazak's zombie-rific exterior is a bit of a sham. The bloody tendons and oozing slough we see aren't actually part of its body. By cutting away the mess of meat, we find that Vaal Hazak is in fact a dragon with jagged silvery scales and distinct keratinous growths that resemble thorns and hooks. This evolutionary feature serves the Elder Dragon by catching on the corpses that litter the Vale, pulling them apart and cloaking the creature in its iconic fleshy shroud. But that's only one part of the process. While any meat left in the Rotten Vale will inevitably be exposed to the effluvial bacteria and decay, Vaal Hazak expedites the process with a second layer of adornment. Using gill-like structures that line its body, the Elder Dragon draws in and maintains a coating of effluvium. The gas swirls around its body, given a perfect meal on wheels by the carrion, and providing adequate nourishment for Vaal Hazak. From this process, we can hypothesize to a degree on Vaal Hazak's internal anatomy. In order for the dragon to maintain its effluvial coating, it must either have an advanced lung structure that can both deliver oxygen to the bloodstream while also controlling airflow to these gills, or it may have a completely separate lung-like organ that serves only the latter purpose. I would err towards the second hypothesis being true, as coating oneself in a layer of gas is no small feat. We even see in-game that in order for Vaal Hazak to maintain this outer layer, it is forced to move slowly. When stripped of effluvium, Vaal Hazak becomes nimble and quick, no longer burdened with the risk of blowing away its bacterial bodice. One part of Vaal Hazak's body that we don't have to speculate on is the creature's distinctive double jaw. We can call these two parts the true mandible and the pseudomandible. The true mandible is small and somewhat hidden by the greater bone structure of the creature's cranium. The pseudomandible is the larger of the two and consists of a long bony structure, complete with teeth but missing a floor. Quite uniquely, this leaves open space between the pseudo and true mandibles that fittingly play into the true purpose of Vaal Hazak's mouth. Vaal Hazak has no need to hunt, as it doesn't eat meat. Its jaw structure is designed for gripping carcasses while Hazak blasts them with its stored effluvium, expediting the process of decay and creating more food for the creature. The gap between the true mandible and the pseudomandible allows Hazak's effluvial breath to contact a greater surface area, thereby increasing its gains. From all this, we can rather safely say that Vaal Hazak and the effluvial bacteria of the Vale share a symbiotic relationship. Even if the Elder Dragon is consuming the effluvial bacteria, Hazak's actions ultimately cause a net increase in effluvial propagation. So much so that an overabundance of activity from this Elder Dragon can easily cause the ecosystem to become saturated with effluvium. While this would lead to oxygen falling dangerously in the lower levels of the Vale and most endemic life asphyxiating and rotting, causing even more effluvium, there is a point where the bacteria present begins to self-regulate, turning to cannibalism when no other food sources are present. Obviously, the Commission tries to keep the activity of Vaal Hazak steady, lest this scenario play out, potentially causing the ecosystem of the Rotten Vale to destabilize or collapse and take the coral highlands with it. Though the effluvial bacteria are a natural and necessary part of life and death, it's easy to understand fear of their deadly capabilities. It's even easier for those who have come face to face with Vaal Hazak, as it's taken to using its effluvial colony as a defense mechanism as well as a food source. Vaal Hazak is able to exhale a dense stream of effluvium when aggravated. Hunters on the receiving end of this will find their health cut in half. This mechanic can be seen as representative as a sort of infection. Though the bacteria's appetite is generally saved for corpses, in such high amounts it's possible that they may act as a sort of flesh-eating bacteria. Or perhaps a blast of such toxicity is simply so overwhelming to the system that it temporarily begins to partially shut down, as if in a state of shock, which is a condition that is caused by a lack of oxygen flowing to the body's organs. We can also observe the effect effluvium has on living creatures that have drawn Vaal Hazak's ire. Their exteriors show clear signs of a living effluvial colony, giving evidence to the previous theory of infection. Additionally, creatures affected by Vaal Hazak's effluvium show greater levels of aggression. While this could be read as a natural reaction to the pain that would come with their bodies slowly being eaten away, it's stated that the bacteria, and Vaal Hazak by extension, may exert some sort of control on these creatures. If this truly is the case, we could perhaps draw comparisons to the effects of Ophiocordyceps unilaterus, a fungus well known for the mind control it uses on half-dead ants. Further credence is lent to this theory by the existence of the spore-laden black veil Vaal Hazak, a subspecies that has formed a relationship with fungi. However, that's another discussion for another day. Vaal Hazak is a creature that coats itself in meat and mystery. It was practically the stuff of legend until just recently. This is far from unusual, though, as the dragon has little need to leave its nest deep within the Rotten Vale. For some, this is good news, as its putrid appearance may inspire fear or repulsion. To be honest, though, I can't help but find it charismatic. Though some may scorn it, Vaal Hazak is a beautiful creature in its own right, a masterwork of adaptation that benefits more perfectly from its environment than perhaps any other elder dragon. So the guardian of Hades can be left sleeping peacefully on its throne of flesh and bone, a true and peaceful king, ever lurking, steady as the inevitable cycle of life and death.
Hey. Are you wearing lipstick?
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I've recently gotten into Monster Hunter, and I just couldn't help but profile one of my favorite elder dragons. Apparently I'm the only one that thinks Vaal Hazak is cute, but I would love to be proven wrong in the comments. Or you can tell me which wyvern you prefer. While you're at it, liking and subscribing would really help out our channel. Thanks again for watching, and have a happy Halloween.